No, I don't know,
What are you doing, undemanding one?
Oh, well, check this out, Robo-Dude. I saw this juicer on sale and I thought to myself, well, this is a great deal. So I got really excited and bought two. But the thing is I don't really need two juice buddies, so I don't really know which one to send back.
Send back?
Yeah, I just want to return it to the store, you know?
So, because your faulty organic processor worked on impulse, you're going to abandon one of these innocent machines?
But don't worry. Whichever gets sent back will go to a loving home, I'm sure.
Well, probably not. More than likely, it will just get thrown out.
Wait, what?
$730.2 billion. That's how much we spent on buying gifts for our loved ones in the holiday season of 2019. But whether those gifts were broken or just not what someone was looking for, many of them got returned. In fact, holiday returns for 2019 alone were valued at over $40 billion, more than 5% of sales. What do you think happens to all those products that are sent back?
Oh, probably put on the shelves and resold, right?
Unlikely. Given the wasteful nature of meatbags like you, there is a higher likelihood of incineration.
Strap in as we delve into the reality behind the final destination for these poor products. Let's say you're shopping on Amazon and see just the perfect coffee mug. Or, whatever else people shop for on there. You throw it in your cart, get it delivered as soon as possible, and then when it arrives, you're just not feeling it anymore. It's not broken, but maybe it doesn't quite look like the picture, or maybe it's just not holding in heat to keep your coffee at the optimal temperature. Either way, it's no problem. Returning is quick and easy, not to mention free. So you send it back and get yourself a refund. But what happens once it's out of your hands? According to Amazon, when the product is returned, first, it must be sent back to the company. From there, it arrives in one of their fulfillment centers, where it is removed from its packaging and inspected against a 20-item checklist. If it passes with flying colors, then it's restocked and sold as new. If not, then it's refurbished, repackaged, and sold through the Amazon warehouse side of the store for less. So, say you do send this juicer back. Let's follow along with your little friend on its return path.
We can do that?
It is simple with the application of a strong enough probability algorithm.
Yeah, except no, we don't have that.
Oh.
But what we do have is an article from CBC Marketplace investigating the process for Amazon Canada. The reporters involved purchased a number of products, then hid GPS trackers in them before making returns and documenting their findings. First things first. When you choose to return something, you get a shipping label to print off and box it up. Then, it's off to the post office. From there, our juicer friend will be carted off to a mail sorting facility, and then to a specific returns facility, where the little guy faces one of a few fates. If found to be resellable, our friendly juicer may just be restocked on Amazon and sold. Though not necessarily right away. Tracking their packages, the CBC found that some of them were even transported over 1,000 kilometers while being moved from location to location in a circling route in southern Ontario. On the other hand, if sold as refurbished, there are a couple of different fates this little buddy might face. The first is being sold on the Amazon warehouse site for those seeking deals on refurbished products, in which case the juicer will have the same experience as its sold as new counterpart. The other option here is that it could be bundled up with other items that were slightly damaged or sent back, and sold as part of a lot on a pallet of used goods. These pallets are sold through third-party liquidation companies for cheap. 13 News Now bought a pallet labeled as worth around $2,999 for $500, for example. But these liquidation items often aren't in the best condition, and according to the CBC,
they put the best stuff on the outside. So any good big brand names like Weber or whatever, the good stuff's gonna be all on the outside. When you start digging in the middle, that's where you're gonna throw in the rest of the junk.
Though, if the reseller doesn't think a product is worth anything, it may still wind up in the dumpster. But there's a third option. Despite being a perfectly functioning piece of unused tech, our juicer buddy could wind up being destroyed anyways.
No!
What cruel fate.
Talk about injustice.
Do not make light of the death of my kind.
Sorry, couldn't help myself. Out of the 12 items that the CBC returned, only 4 of them were actually resold. The other 8 sat in warehouses, and one like-new bag was even sent to a landfill. In fact, the CBC went undercover to an e-waste recycling and product destruction facility in Toronto and discovered that they received
So is that what you guys have dealt with before? Tons. Tons of it. Tons of Avocado.
receiving up to 5 tractor trailers of returned goods a week. And despite being a recycling facility, products are still sent to a landfill.
But that's just in Canada, right?
Probability low. Corporate operations have a high percentage of repeating across national boundaries.
Affirmative. In the US, 5 billion pounds of returned goods are thrown out each year. Amazon has faced criticism in both France and Germany in 2019 when it was discovered that the company had been destroying or throwing out unopened toys, appliances, and brand name diaper containers because it's cheaper than reselling or donating them. The situation in France drew such ire that in January 2019, Brun, a Secretary of State for France's ecological transition, said that in the coming months, a law will be passed in Parliament that will outlaw this type of activity. Companies like Amazon will no longer be able to throw away products that can still be used. As of June 2019, France is implementing a ban on destroying or throwing out live new products over a 4-year period. Should we really be surprised at how much is thrown out, though?
Yeah, how could they start taking perfectly good products that just had the misfortune of being returned and just destroy them like that? That's just so wasteful.
Chill, this isn't new. Companies have been doing this for a long time. 1983, Alamogordo, New Mexico. Video game publisher Atari paid for around 800,000 copies of unsold stock, including titles such as Pac-Man, Centipede, Baseball, and the infamous E.T. to be dumped into a local landfill. In fact, some game stores will still throw away perfectly good video games and controllers, leading to a whole industry of searching through the dumpsters of their local GameStops. More recently, British fashion brand Burberry destroyed 28.6 million pounds worth of products in 2017 alone. Though in this case, it was to, in the words of the BBC, protect the brand and prevent them from being stolen or sold cheaply.
Bruh.
Bruh is right. That's not even counting fast fashion or clothes meant to go out of season. In fact, according to the EPA, out of all the unwanted clothes in the US in 2012, 84% went to the landfill. And according to CNN Money, if a product is cheaper to just throw out than try and resell, in the trash it goes.
Even if it's still good?
Yeah, which is why I like to stick with my motto of, if it ain't broke, don't replace it.
What? Brew, I don't see how that ties in.
Well, if you think about it, this all isn't that different from planned obsolescence.
Planned obsolescence now?
Planned obsolescence is a term that refers to the products, specifically tech gadgets that are built in such a way that they will fail or be easier to replace than repair within a certain period of time, in order to incentivize purchasing newer models. Imagine having your funeral predetermined. It is a bleak thing. An existential nightmare that looms over me like the sword of Damocles. A nightmare wrought of ones and zeros.
Yeah, what Howard said. Planned obsolescence can manifest in a number of ways, but smartphones are probably the best example, like the iPhone, that are typically built in such a way to be hard to repair with techniques like using adhesive in place of screws to hold components in place, making it necessary to pry the components apart and risk breaking the very same parts you're trying to remove. The end result of this is 41.8 million metric tons of electronic waste in 2014 alone, only a sixth of which was recycled. That figure has risen to 53.6 million metric tons in 2019, which is a lot of garbage that has a big economic impact. And just like planned obsolescence, there's an environmental cost to returning your unwanted Amazon purchases. When you return an online purchase, there's a lot of infrastructure involved in actually getting the product from the warehouse to your door and then back again. All those returns need to get moved somehow, via planes, trains, and large trucks. The Verge reports that return products produce over 15 million metric tons of carbon dioxide per year in the United States alone. That's more than the emissions created by 3 million cars.
And that's without the landfills?
Yep. Add in all the usable products that are thrown out, and the environmental impact of your Amazon return can make an even bigger footprint. Unfortunately, those numbers are just expected to go up. In the UK alone, online returns are expected to increase by 27.3% between 2020 and 2023, and the emissions from deliveries are projected to increase by 30% by 2030.
Oh, but I thought that everything in good shape would just get resold. What am I supposed to do now?
Look, it's reasonable to assume that when we return something, it goes back to where it came from? I don't know, like there's some implication it was being returned? But that's not always the case. And it's good to keep in mind that there are alternatives on both the retail and customer sides. Improved descriptions and 3D views of products could help with reducing the number of returns. Finding better ways to recycle return products would also help, like second-hand return stores. And, of course, on the consumer side, if we want to be aware of the impact we have by returning products, I do have a few suggestions. Since reduce is the first part of the famous reduce, reuse, recycle, try to be mindful of what you need. And if you get excited by, say, thinking you'll need a new yoga mat, 3 pairs of sweatpants, or 2 juicers, step back for a second and think if you'll use all of them. If you don't need the money, you could always donate it or use a swap app like Buns. If you want to recoup some money, maybe sell it on a local storefront like Craigslist and Kijiji. Plus, there's always eBay, or just give it to a friend who will make use of it. What do you think, Chill?
I think I know just what to do with this little buddy.
This is my trash! You hear? Mine! Oh.
Hey,
Oh, hey, Chill. What's cracking, homie?
Merry Christmas, Charles.
Is this new?
New enough. I thought you could find a good use for it, or I don't know, maybe even turn it into a life hack or something.
I just might be able to. Thanks, buddy. You know, I've got some perfectly good fruit around here that's just begging to be smoothified. Just got thrown out. Can you believe it? Not that I'm complaining. Hey, I even got some new digs that someone just tossed out.
Oh, whoa, that's wild.
You think that's wild? I got 2 words for you. Free books. Let me tell you, sure, they ripped the covers off, but that doesn't make them any less legible.
Hey, you want to see some Amazon products that deserve to be returned? Click on my video where I find the worst products on Amazon. Click it, click it, click it, click it, click it.